Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting to order. It's a regular meeting of the Jamestown School Board. It is Monday, December 18th, 2023 at 5:15 in the Thompson Community Room in the middle school. I'd like to welcome all those in the audience, and I always enjoy when we do our athletics and activity awards because we get a good audience, so thank you all for coming tonight. I also want to note that Melissa Gleason is joining us tonight by phone. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Aaron, would you be willing to read the school board norms?
Absolutely. The board developed norms are to share and respect opinions and speak with a united voice once a decision has been reached, execute all duties of the school board in compliance with the North Dakota Century Code, properly prepare for meetings, and commit to assessing board effectiveness, ensure high-quality governance for all stakeholders.
Thank you, Aaron. Moving on our agenda, we have nothing under public communication. Any conflicts of interest for the board to declare? Any conflicts of interest? If not, moving on to our consent agenda. Is there a motion? Motion by Gail? Second by Dan. We have a motion, a second for approval of the consent agenda. Any discussion? Anything you'd like removed or any discussion? If not, assuming roll call vote, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion approved. Under our regular meeting, we have our recognition, and at this time, we're going to recognize our fall athletics. And Jason and Gail, would you be willing to read the names? Once your name is read, just please join me right over here. We have a small item for you, and then we're going to line everyone up behind me for a picture, and we'll give parents plenty of time, and feel free just to come forward as far as you need to take those photos. So, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I will start off with football. Colin Conway, all-conference. Tyson Jorison, all-conference and second-team all-state. Bo Nelson, all-conference and first-team all-state. Jack Van Berkom, all-conference and second-team all-state. Max Rittenbach, honorable mention all-conference. Vaughn Romsdahl, honorable mention all-conference. And Nate Waltz, all-conference and first-team all-state.
And I'll carry the ball forward here with volleyball. Kinley Anderson, all-conference. Edie Hagerly, all-conference, all-state first team, and all-tournament team. McKenna Nold, all-conference, all-state first team, all-tournament team, WDA Outstanding Senior Athlete, and the North Dakota Powerade Senior Athlete of the Year. Leah Trumbauer, all-conference and all-state second team. For boys soccer, we have Grant Lundy, all-conference second team all-state. Brady Hardy, all-conference second team all-state and all-tournament team. Connor Trout, all-conference first team all-state. Gabe Jennison, who is here from Valley City, all-conference. And Idi Ramadani, all-conference, first team all-state, and all-tournament team. Brandy Hardy, WDA Coach of the Year, and the North Dakota High School CA Boys Soccer Coach of the Year. For girls swimming and diving, we have Julia Scari, all-conference. For boys tennis, we have Grady Anderson, all-conference, and Kai Bakken, all-conference.
Just be on the end. Come on the end. Okay, thank you. Yeah. Push the other a little bit more. And then Congratulations to everyone. Moving on our agenda, under correspondence, we received an individual card from every TLA graduate, and so that was very thoughtful. And we also appreciate their hard work that they put into this, and also the work that they'll do to move our district forward. So we appreciate that. We also have a card from the Newman family. Nothing under reports. Under board education, we have educational competency, Pearl Harbor performance, Cheryl McIntyre, Daniel Nyland, Aubrey Sir, and Gabby Tweeten. Please come forward. And Darian Lund.
Yes, I have Miss Lund is with us as well. Both the band and the choir went to Hawaii to perform at Pearl Harbor. We were invited based on, we were the governor's choir last year, and so they invited us to come. And I said, you know, we traveled together as a group, and they said, well, please bring the band. We'd love to have them. And one thing I'd like to note is that we were the first North Dakota group that's ever performed in that particular event. So they were really excited to have us, and we got to share the stage with the Mandan Hidatsu three affiliated tribes as well. They were there also. So what happened on this trip was just amazing. We took lots of adults, some parents, chaperones, and they were very helpful throughout the trip. We went to the Polynesian Cultural Center. The students learned about the different islands and the different traditions that came from the different islands. Some of them took ukulele lessons. Some of them took hula lessons there. They got to learn about drumming and dancing and just all of the things that made up the Polynesian cultures. The choir had the opportunity to have a standalone performance at the USS Missouri, which is a big battleship at Pearl Harbor. They did a phenomenal job. Very, very pleased with that. We sang the same performance almost in the fall because we felt that if we're going to go and honor our veterans at Pearl Harbor, that we should also do the same in our own town. And so we used that performance in the fall for our concert. And then on December 7th, it was a new experience. We learned a lot that day because basically we had people that would lead us around and say, here's what you're going to do next. Here's what you're going to do next. But the kids got to, the choirs performed, all the choirs that were there performed together at the ceremony, opening ceremonies, and the bands all performed together with their drum majors conducting. And the military band was conducting as well, so they were all performing with a Marine band, which was really exciting. The opening ceremonies included 3 survivors of Pearl Harbor. They were 101, 102, and 103. And the 102 and the 103-year-old gentlemen were the ones that gave the speech. And that was really interesting. The first one said he had a 16-page program to tell us about, but he just wanted to thank everybody for being there and for remembering what happened at Pearl Harbor. The second one, his son interviewed him and asked him what were the things that he remembered about that day, and he was a tuba player in that regiment there, and then he ended up giving out artillery during the Pearl Harbor attack. So it was very interesting for all of us to learn how they used all of the people during the Pearl Harbor attack, which was a surprise for them. He also had a brother there that he didn't get to see for a week afterwards. At the beginning of that ceremony, the choirs combined to sing America the Beautiful, and at the end of that ceremony, the bands all together got to play God Bless America. So a little choked up just thinking about how beautiful that particular event was. We got to pick 2 students, one from the choir and one from the band, to give lays to honor the veterans. And so Reagan Keller and Olivia Currenta were selected from Jamestown to go out into the audience and offer flower lays to those people. Do you want to talk about the parade?
Yes. Like Cheryl said, it was a lot of follow and we go, and we were 80 in the parade, so you could about imagine we were waiting. But it was truly amazing. The streets were lined with folks celebrating and sharing, and we got to march alongside various military bands and different bands from across the country, as well as about, what was they said, 800 cheerleaders too. That was kind of exciting. The kids had fun asking them questions because they've never seen a cheerleader before. So it was a really electric experience because the streets were lined with people. If any of you have gone to the Band Night Parade in Bismarck, it's pretty equivalent except for there's no hills because it's just straight down. So it was really amazing. The kids did a fabulous job following and leading, and Kalili, which was our guide down in Hawaii, said he ran to go grab something, and I was warming our kids up, and he heard a band play, and he was like, oh, and he turns around and goes, oh, that's Jamestown's band, so in a good shocking way, that he was really impressed with how well our kids played and how precise they were among their marching. So it was a great experience.
The very last day, and we were very, again, lucky to have so many chaperones and parents with us, because the students got to choose things that they were able to do. They all went with a chaperone or had somebody that knew exactly where they were at. But kids went surfing, they went boogie boarding, and that's just kind of like a half a surfboard. They went snorkeling, zip lining, some went hiking Diamond Head, some actually just went biking on the beach. Some were swimming in the ocean. Shopping was a big one. Some went whale watching. They got to go see the Christmas lights at the governor's mansion. The zoo was right next door to our hotel. Our hotel was right across the street from Waikiki Beach. I mean, like right across the street from the beach. And then some did a glass bottom boat and got to see the wildlife or the animal life underneath the boat, and some went parasailing, and some just relaxed because they were worn out. They were busy kids. But anyway, we were super proud of the kids because they were, not only did they perform well and they showed Jamestown in a very, very good light, but they were always on time. We did have a couple busing issues, so that helped for them to be on time, but they were always on time and they always had a great attitude, so we were super pleased with that. I do have 3 people here very quickly just to tell you what maybe their favorite part of the trip was. Okay. Come on over. This is Gabby Tweeten.
One of my favorite parts was being part of a mass choir with students that we had never seen before because they are all the way across the country, but we all came and sang the same song, and it came together beautifully because all of our talents matched up, so that was really fun.
Mrs. Aubrey, sir.
I just thought the coolest part for me was, we read about Pearl Harbor Day in elementary school and we see it in Scholastic News. And then when you're just there and you're on the ferry and you're on the memorial and it's just like, I don't know, it was just such a surreal feeling to what you read about and then you go see. But I also thought just how welcoming the people of Hawaii were towards us was really nice and made it I'll remember it for the rest of my life for sure. So yeah, that was cool.
And this is Daniel Nyland.
The most interesting part of Pearl Harbor for me was, or Hawaii, sorry, was hiking Diamond Head. If you don't know what Diamond Head is, it's a big, inert volcano crater thing. It is beautiful. The view up there is gorgeous, and it just made me realize that there is a lot in the world that we haven't seen, and I think I'll remember going to Hawaii for the rest of my life because of that.
All right. And we just wanted to show you what they gave us. This was our award for being a part of this. It's our tiki, and it has an inscription for the JHS Choir and Band, and thanking them for being a part of it. And then every one of the students got one of these medals, which they also gave to the veterans. And it says on the back, one who represents the spirit of America through selfless service and whose influence affects positive change in the world. And I hope that that's what this trip was all about for the students. And we want to thank the school board, and this invitation came, and I took it first thing to Mr. Gaylor and said, what do you think? Is this a possibility? And he thought we should pursue this. So thank you very much for giving us this opportunity.
Any questions from the board? Dan.
Not so much a question, but a comment, but because I went along as a chaperone. And I echo everything that you said was great. And I have to admit, you guys represented Jamestown to the highest standards, not only during the performances, but when you were out and about. You held yourself to a really high standard. We didn't worry about you. You handled yourselves well. People were commenting. You engaged with the people around you. I was very impressed with how the students, and to Mrs. McIntyre, Ms. Lund, and Ms. Mike, you gave some really additional educational opportunities when the buses didn't show up on time, and how you handled the kids how do you adapt when things don't go as planned. That was yet another opportunity that was a priceless educational moment. So thank you for letting me go along, and I just wanted to give kudos to you and to the students.
I do need to say, we took Miss Mike along, and she was invaluable in a great way. She was our liaison for all of the adults that were along, and helped us keep in communication with all of them. So again, thank you very much.
Jason?
So how many groups did this include? One per state, or?
I believe they invited that many. I think there were 12 choirs and about 30 bands. And the parade itself had over 100 events in it. So
Can you remind us how many students, JHS students, took part in this?
there were 88 JHS students. We traveled with 141 people, and so we did learn how to travel as a group too.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Well, thank you for representing JHS at this event, and I know there was also some community support for this too, which the school is also appreciative of, and thank you for everything you did and represented our school very, very well, so thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on in our agenda, we have superintendent's report. Dr. Leck.
Thank you. You have my written report. It is a little bit lengthy this month, but a lot has to do with personnel. So I wanted to provide some updates on where we're at with staffing for the remainder of this school year and already planning ahead for next school year. So I'm going to kind of group things a little bit. As we've done in the past, I include a little bit of bio information so you know you're not involved as board members with the interview process, but it's important that you understand who these individuals are because you're approving their contracts. We have Haley Altringer and Steve Justice. These both represent pre-service teachers that are coming to work for us in the second semester. So Haley was working as that pre-service teacher at Louis L'Amour, using the flexibility granted to us through the governor's executive order. And Steve Justice was student teaching at the middle school. And now both being offered contracts for the second semester. The important point to note here, this isn't representative of them, but just the law. Any staffing, any contract offered after January 1st of any year is a non-continuing contract. And it's just, again, it has not related to Ms. Altringer or Mr. Justice, just related to this is what North Dakota Century Code allows. So these are non-continuing contracts. We have a few that are coming, others not student teachers that are coming to us and fulfilling the responsibilities for the remainder of the year. Renee Reed is coming into health careers at the JVCTC. Jessica Irie returning back to us after a semester away. Working in English and the Blue Jay Academy. Mr. Meisner has been filling in the Dean of Students role, as you're well aware, and he'll be recommended for that full-time position in this meeting. I'll touch briefly on David Frickel. Mr. Frickel in the past was conditionally, the board had acted that conditionally if we could find another solution for Mr. Frickel to be released from his contract. And now we are looking to fill that position with a long-term substitute. More importantly, looking at a certified staff member that would be filling that position in 24-25. So moving forward, a longer-term plan. In the short term, we're looking at a long-term sub, but I do believe it's appropriate now to approve that release from contract request for Mr. Frickel. We have a couple extended contracts. One is Mr. Waggins. The important point to note from this is the 10-day extension is related to a Choice Ready grant received by Medina Public Schools. So we would be allowing Mr. Wagon to fulfill some time out with another school district. The benefit to that, of course, is those students receiving that cooperative work experience or work-based learning experience with Mr. Wagon's support, but it also goes a long way to continue to reach out to regional schools that may in the future be members of JVCTC and cultivate those relationships. So I would definitely recommend approval for that. Just as a point that this would not impact JVCTC students in any way. Mr. Wagon has that time in his schedule, and there is no financial impact to JVCTC. It's simply a flow through from their Choice Ready grant to us to hire or to buy time from Mr. Wagon. We have a number of extended contracts. As the board's aware, we've split those up from semester to semester. So the extended contracts set for approval represent those that we need for second semester at this time. Later on in the agenda, I've outlined Board Memo 101. That is, similar to some other positions that we have consolidated in the past, the tech director, assistant tech director being the most recent. Cindy Wall in the food service department looking to add a food service assistant director in place of 2 other positions that we wouldn't hire. We would hire this position instead. Currently, there are 6 vacant positions, and she feels that there is a better long-term support for an assistant director. Other benefits, byproduct from this, we would be able to ensure that we have summer meals every summer, that has been sporadic for us. There hasn't always been staffing to provide the summer meals program, and we know that's important for our community and for our kids. Again, that would be shifting to vacant positions. The other benefit that I see is its ascension planning. It's a place for us to start a conversation as we have, if we had a food service director position open, we would have a director that would be cross-trained and might be prepared to step in and take that ascension. So as I see it, the board would have 2 options with this director position. Typically, what we would do is start that conversation in the spring to add a position, and it would go to our finance committee. But we looked at the food service director, Cindy Wall, would like to start this sooner rather than later, and has asked the board to consider that sooner than next year. So with that in mind, we looked at placing that position at a level 7. So the board in this meeting would have the option to either simply refer it to the finance committee to have a discussion about that and bring back a recommendation. That has been typical practice. Or if the board feels like it has enough information, you can simply approve that and we could start the hiring process for that position. Lastly, we have, at least in the hiring aspect, we have 2 positions that we are working already to fill for the 24-25 school year. Zeb Willer in math and Halsey Mahoney in counseling. So I'm just going to, because I talked through a lot of different personnel, I'm just going to pause just to see if there's questions specifically related to personnel.
Does the board have any questions related to those items? Jason?
Just for clarification, the pre-service, the option of the pre-service, and then moving them into a contract, what does that process look like from HR's end?
It isn't any different. From the pre-service end, it was filled as a long-term sub, and because they didn't have a contract, because they don't have a license. Well, they have a pre-service authorization. And so now this would be just like any other mid-year hire. This is somebody that has a license, so offered a contract after January 1st. So it wouldn't look any different than any other position. We've just been paying this individual as a pre-service teacher on the long-term sub rate.
Good question. Any other questions? Okay, if not, continue.
Okay, also later on in this agenda, you will have the long-awaited strategic plan for approval. And I want to recognize our strategic plan committee, Jamie Bear, Adam Gaylor, Heidi Larson, Aaron Roberts. I thought as a committee, you gave us really excellent feedback. And Adam and I, when we were drafting, we got great feedback on what those goals should look like, how those metrics and the progress monitoring. I felt like through those conversations, a lot of excellent dialogue and that brought us to a really good place from a strategic planning standpoint. So I'm appreciative that we improved that process, and I think we learned a lot through that dialogue, and we're appreciative of it. Some things for the board to recognize, and this is included in that document that you've already read, but we aligned them with our Cognia standards, the four strategic focus areas: culture of learning, leadership for learning, engagement of learning, and growth in learning. We didn't feel, though, that was enough. We added resource management and planning, so we have 5 overarching areas that we will look to, and progress monitoring is listed in that plan. In the future, that might look a little bit different because we'll have a full year, and so we're working from December on, and so we'll only do each of those goal areas once, and they're listed as a date, listed as the board meeting date in which those specific focus areas will be reviewed. So we're working on a few different ways to do that, but all the focus areas are specific, they're measurable, they're time-bound in terms of the goals, and we are working, Mr. Gaylor and I are working now on an operational plan. So what is our job as school administrators, and how are we going to implement and operationalize the goals of the board? So how are we going to accomplish those things and bring back to you? And then we're also working on a workflow plan that helps us plan, making sure that everything gets accomplished within a reasonable time period. But we also think that workflow plan is going to be a nice tool for the board during progress monitoring to assess what are the steps that we've taken to make sure that these are accomplished to the best of our abilities. I'm just going to move into the audit update. Traditionally at this meeting, you would have an audit report. Shower and Associates requested that we delay that until January because they have an internal approval process that they had some conflicts and weren't able to meet. So we'll do that in January. But we did want to make the board aware if there was any interest in reviewing that draft before January, because typically that is something you see earlier. But we're happy to provide that. Just come stop in central office. We're happy to share that if you'd like to look at it before. The MOU that we have on the agenda relates to the emergency shelter agreement between Jamestown Public Schools and JRMC. There is no change from the previous agreement on that, and so we're recommending that for approval. I added a topic on agenda management. You may be familiar with different ways in which board agendas are stored and managed. We do things internally. I'm a superintendent. I like to keep things at no cost. So I like what we do because it's what I do, and it doesn't provide a cost. But I want to also make sure that the board is aware there's other ways to do it. There's subscriptions, there's programs, there's services and different platforms that do this differently. And if you would like for me to research, I gave you an example. Board Book is one that is a partner for the School Boards Association, and you might get advertisements from them when you look at the NDSBA bulletin. If you'd like us to explore that, I know Amy has walked through a webinar with that already. If you'd like us to do, if you'd like to see more of what we can do in that platform and how we manage our agendas and hold our meetings, I'm happy to look into it, but without direction, I'll just keep doing what we have been doing because I like free. The last item that I had, but in fairness, if there's things that we need to do better, even if it's continue this process or look to something else, just please communicate what it is that you'd like to see so we can work to improve the process that we have or look to transition to something better. The last thing that I had was a board retreat. Typically, we do a January board retreat. If you'd like to do that, I would be happy to continue to schedule that in January. You did just have a retreat talking about facility needs, so I would understand if you would say Well, that accounts for our retreat. I'm just looking for some direction on how you want to operate. But with that, I would stand for questions.
Any questions from the board? Any questions? Okay, or discussion? Dr. Leck, just as long as you mention the different software options for record retainment and agenda building, is there any feedback from the board on that at all? Aaron, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm good with the way we're doing things now. I don't really see a need to get into a complicated at all. It seems to be working for us, so unless something comes up and it's not working for us, then I guess we can address it at that time.
Dan?
Same topic, I guess. Do you see any benefit for swapping out to something different?
Well, thanks for asking that question. I personally don't. I like the way that we do things, but it's the way that I've always done them. That doesn't mean that that's how it should continue. And I just, as we had the internal conversation, I wanted to make sure that the board was engaged in that. So, sometimes you make assumptions. I think things are going well, and everybody else might say, I don't like the way this works, or we're gapping out in a certain area. But if there isn't a reason from the board's perspective, I'm not particularly compelled to pay for a service or to do something different. But again, it was more about, we had that internal dialogue and felt the board should be engaged in it as well.
Any other thoughts? Aaron?
As far as the board retreat goes, we had our last retreat addressing some facilities items, and there were some action items for yourself on that. I guess I would just be looking towards, when we get those actions complete and then getting back together to readdress those facilities would be of interest for me.
Any other
But
comment?
not necessarily in January, just when they're prepared. Right.
Okay. Any other comments? So we can maybe look springtime then, a little later in spring. And as far as the software, I know there's, and I've seen some where there's some different options, but I think some of the options also take a lot of staff time to input things. I think even just now that we're looking at our strategic plan and getting more of a schedule for reporting and some of those things, I'm looking forward to kind of that schedule, and it doesn't necessarily have to be in an expensive software package. So I appreciate the work that we're doing already. So unless there's something new that comes up, that would be my thoughts as well. So thank you everyone for their input on that. Any other questions? Any other questions? Okay. Moving on our agenda, nothing under old business, under new business, nothing under activities. Under buildings and grounds, A, approval of memorandum of understanding with Jamestown Regional Medical Center for short-term shelter in the event of an emergency. Is there a motion? Motion by Gail. Second by Jamie. We have a motion and a second for approval of memorandum of understanding with Jamestown Regional Medical Center for short-term shelter in the event of an emergency. Any discussion? Any discussion? If not, assuming a roll call vote, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion approved. Moving on our agenda, nothing under curriculum assessment instruction. Under finance, we have approval of the 2022 to 2023 budget revisions. And there's also the general fund balance and monthly financials for your information. Is there a motion? Motion by Steve? Second by Gail. We have a motion and a second for approval of the 2023 to 2020. Yes.
We had just had a clerical issue there, 23-24 budget
I was wondering about
revisions.
that. 2023 to 2024 budget revisions. Motion by Steve, second by Gail. Any discussion? Any discussion? If not, assuming roll call vote, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion approved. And as I mentioned, the general fund balance and monthly financials are there for your information. Under personnel, approval of the resignation of Scott Botner at the conclusion of the 2023 to 2024 school year. Is there a motion? Motion by Jamie. Is there a second? Second by Gail. We have a motion and a second for approval of the resignation of Scott Botner at the conclusion of the 2023 to 2024 school year. Any discussion? If not, assuming roll call vote, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion approved. And yes, several years of service, so I don't have the number in front of me, but thank you so much, Scott, for your years of service. Any other comment? Did you, Jason? Okay, I thought you said. Approval of the approval of resignation of Jeff Meisner as Dean of Students and Elementary Teacher as of December 18th, 2023, and subsequent approval to hire Jeff Meisner as principal at Washington Elementary School on December 19th, 2023. The resignation was dependent on the hire there in the letter. Is there a motion? Motion by Aaron, second by Steve. So we have a motion and a second for approval of the resignation of Jeff Meisner as Dean of Students and Elementary Teacher as of December 18th, 2023, and approval to hire Jeff Meisner as principal at Washington Elementary School on December 19th, 2023. Any discussion? Any discussion? If not, assuming roll call vote, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion approved. Did you want any comments on that? Okay. C, approval of a release of contract for David Frickel. Is there a motion? Motion by Dan. Second by Gail. We have a motion and a second for approval of release from contract for David Frickel. Any discussion? Aaron?
Should the motion include a termination date?
Well, it would be at this meeting, this date. Yeah. December 18th, if you want to include that. I think it would state that in the minutes that it would be approved
Today.
for today. But
Yep, for today.
Yeah, that would be fine.
Yep.
Yep, okay. So we have a motion and a second for approval of release of contract for David Frickel at today's, if approved, it would be today's meeting date. We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, assuming roll call vote, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion approved. D, approval of extended contracts for second semester of the 2023 to 2024 school year. Jamestown High School, Kim Carpenter, Larry Eslick, Andy Fitzgerald, Ken Gardner, Debbie Krebs, Marshall Krieger, Tom Mouse, Cody Mickelson, Shelley Moldson, Bill Nelson, Rachel Rakov, and Denise Wood. Is there, and then JVCTC, Jerry Wagon. We have a long list there. Is there a motion? Motion by Gail. Is there a second by Aaron? So we have a motion and a second for the approval of the list of extended contracts for second semester of the 2023 to 2024 school year. Any discussion? Jason?
This list, comparable to first semester, I'm just thinking of all the, the staffing. This is what we were pretty much expecting to happen.
it's a little bit less than we had in the previous semester, because in the next agenda item, you'll be approving a high school language arts instructor, so it's a little bit less than what we anticipated, because we didn't anticipate being able to hire. But I'm appreciative of our high school administration being very, very proactive in trying to fill, I should say all of our administrators, in trying to be very proactive to fill those spots, and they're doing the very best they can.
Gail?
I would also like to thank them for being willing to step up and help our district and our students by taking on an extra load.
Extra responsibility, yes. Any other discussion? So we have a motion and a second for approval of extended contracts for second semester of the 2023 to 2024 school year for both the high school and the JVCTC. Any further discussion? If not, assuming roll call vote, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion approved. Moving on to E, approval to hire for the 2023 to 2024 school year upon successful background check and receipt of appropriate licensure. Number 1, Haley Altringer. Number 2, Jessica Irie. Number 3, Renee Reed. Number 4, Steve Justice. Is there a motion? Motion by Steve, second by Gail. We have a motion and a second for approval to hire for the 2023 to 2024 school year upon successful background check and receipt of appropriate licensure. Haley Altringer, Jessica Irie, Renee Reed, and Steve Justice. Any discussion? Any discussion? If not, assuming roll call vote, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion approved. And approval to hire for this is the 2024 to 2025 school year, that's correct? Number 1, Halsey Mahoney, and number 2, Zeb Willer. Is there a motion? Motion by Aaron, second by Jason. We have a motion, a second to approval to hire for the 2024 to 2025 school year, Halsey Mahoney and Zeb Willer. Any discussion? Gail?
I would also like to thank administration for being proactive in what are difficult to fill positions in math and school counseling.
Yes.
That's very good.
That's a good point, Gail. Any other discussion? If not, assuming a roll call vote, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion approved. G, approval to hire an assistant food service director position. Is there a motion? Motion by Aaron. Is there a second? Second by Jamie. We have a motion and a second for approval to hire an assistant food service director position. Any discussion? Any discussion? Dan?
You had mentioned potentially referring the details of it to the finance committee or as a
So-
level.
Yeah, so I think the board has two directions. You can, if you feel like you have the information that you need to approve, then you certainly can take that direction. And I think we've done a good job of recognizing what the appropriate pay lane should be, that it's lane 7, and that there's a relatively budget neutral impact to this position because it's an exchange, 2 9-month positions to 1 full-time position at a higher rate. But typically that process has started with finance in the spring, and I just want to make sure that the board knows they have that ability to refer if they so feel that there needs to be greater information or study, but it wouldn't have to be referred.
Any discussion? Aaron?
Yeah, and it's based on the recommendation from, the food service director. So I think it makes sense and that there's a lot of good rationale behind it. So that's why I support it.
I also want to chime in. I think also this is not one of those positions that's really cross-trained. There's, we have different principals or whatever positions, but the food service is kind of a unique position, and so I think it would be helpful to have someone, especially with our summer food service as well, some knowledge of that. Go ahead.
Well, that's one thing I want to reiterate again. We have been unable, one of the things we've heard from our community with food service is they really want to have summer meals, and we haven't always been able to do that. It has to work out. And one of the primary responsibilities for this position would be summer meals. And so, that would assure us that we can meet that need that we're hearing from the community in a way that we couldn't always guarantee if we don't have the position.
Any other discussion? We have a motion, a second for approval to hire an assistant food service director position. Any other discussion? If not, assuming roll call vote, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion approved. 6, approval of recommended policies and procedures. 1, approval to rescind policy FGDD, student publications and freedom of expression policy, and subsequent A, then approval of the first reading of policy FGDD, student publications and freedom of expression. Is there a motion? Motion by Dan. Is there a second? Second by Gail. So we have a motion, a second to approve to rescind the policy FGDD, student publication and freedom of expression policy, and also approve then the first reading of policy FGDD, student publication and freedom of expression, to replace it. Any discussion? Any discussion? If not, assuming roll call vote, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion approved. Number 7, nothing under tuition. Number 8, under other, A, the board appointment for the transportation consortium, we will need someone appointed to that as part of that agreement that we approved before, so we'll work on that. B, school board retreat discussion. I think we decided to wait until some of the action items are ready for us to take some of those next steps, and so probably maybe March, April, that kind of time frame. And C, approval of the JPS strategic plan. Unless, I'm going to back up. Does anyone want to do anything different since that was listed as an action item for the retreat? And are we all comfortable with that? Okay. Okay. If not, then let me know. It can be brought back to another agenda. C, approval of JPS strategic plan. Is there a motion? Motion by Gail. second by Steve. So we have a motion and a second for approval of the JPS strategic plan. Any discussion? Any discussion? Aaron?
I guess I'd just like to thank Dr. Leck and Adam for their work that they put into this. They're really receptive to the feedback that we're given, and I think the quality of the document is what we need for the board and for the district.
Thank you, Aaron. And then we've also talked about, depending on our website programming and those kinds of things, but we'll want to get that onto our website and make it really visible and easy to access for our public as well. So any other discussion? We have a motion and a second for approval of JPS strategic plan. If not, assuming roll call vote, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion approved. Any items for future agenda? If you have an item for future agenda, just let Dr. Leck or myself know.
Did you want to make an appointment to the Transportation Consortium?
Can I do that? Yeah. For the Transportation Consortium, I will need to appoint someone for that. But if you have an interest in it, let me know. I'd probably like to get that done by the end of the week, so if you can let me know if you're interested, or Jason,
Could you just review what that would entail?
So we had a bid established for transportation services. The way the consortium works is the board, a board member representative from the 5 districts would meet to open the bids. So that will be a Zoom meeting at 9 o'clock on Thursday. And that would just be to open the bids and to review the bids. It wouldn't be decision-making. The superintendents are then going to meet later on face-to-face that day to review any bids that we do get, have conversations around what the bids entail, and then we'd set a future meet for the consortium to come back together and make a decision, because we don't have to make a decision that day. So the Zoom meeting itself will probably be relatively short on Thursday at 9 o'clock. We'll have greater conversation, hopefully, that we receive adequate number of bids, or have discussion about next steps if we don't.
All right. Aaron, is it this Thursday you said, right? At 9?
So, and it will be a
Would you be
Zoom.
available? No. I think the timing might be a challenge. So if anyone is available at 9 a.m. on Thursday over Zoom, please reach out to me. So, thank you.
And like I said, the responsibility will simply to be there while the bids are being opened. Decision-making will be coming at a later date,
All right.
a couple minutes.
Yep. Yeah. So just let me know. This Thursday, correct? Yeah.
Yep.
Thursday at 9 a.m. So, yeah, let me know, please. Any other items for future agendas? Any other items? Okay. Meetings to be scheduled. The Health Insurance Committee meeting is on Monday, January 8th, 2024 at 3:30 p.m. in the Central Office Conference Room at the middle school. Our next school board meeting is on Monday, January 15th, 2024 at 5:15 p.m. in the Thompson Community Room at the middle school. And there's also the North Dakota School Boards Association Negotiation Seminar is on February 2nd and 3rd, 2024 in Bismarck. Let me know, or let Amy know, it would be better. Let Amy know if you're planning on attending that convention. Reminder to do your monthly superintendent evaluation, Section 1, Goal and Vision, and Section 3, Human Resource Management. There being no further business before the board, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.